The first shots sounded exactly the way everyone said they would. Loud, sudden, unforgiving. Men flinched. Someone screamed. Someone dropped to the ground and didn't get back up. And he stood there, not frozen, not brave, just still. He waited for fear. Everyone talked about it. The rush, the panic, the moment your body betrays you. But nothing came. An explosion threw dirt into the air. A body landed nearby, helmet rolling to his boots. He looked down, observed, and felt nothing. Orders were shouted. Move forward. He moved, not because of courage, not because of belief, because the word forward still meant something, even when emotions didn't. A bullet tore through his sleeve. Blood appeared. He wrapped the wound calmly. Pain arrived late, distant, unimportant, like bad information delivered to the wrong person. Around him, men were shaking, hands trembling, breathing broken, eyes wide with terror. He watched them the way one watches weather, aware, unaffected. That night in the trench, soldiers whispered about home, mothers, wives, the fear of dying far away. He listened. He understood every word, but none of it reached him. Lying in the dark, he realized something quietly, something that scared him more than bullets ever could. The war hadn't taken his life. It had taken his ability to react to it. What began in this chapter? In this chapter, something subtle but irreversible happened. Fear didn't disappear. It simply never arrived. He didn't notice it immediately. At first, he thought everyone reacted differently to war. Some screamed, some froze, some laughed in ways that didn't sound human. So, when he felt nothing, he assumed it was just his version of survival. The bunker was shaking. Dirt fell from the ceiling. The walls groaned with every explosion. Men were pressed together, knees to chests, hands over ears. One soldier was whispering prayers so fast the words blurred. Another rocked back and forth, crying openly. Someone vomited into a helmet. He sat against the wall, still, observing fear. He watched them carefully, not with judgment, not with concern, with curiosity. Fear had physical symptoms. He could see them clearly. Shaking hands, rapid breathing, wide, unfocused eyes. He checked himself. Hands steady, breathing normal, mind clear, waiting for the reaction. An explosion landed close enough to knock the lantern sideways. The light swung violently, casting shadows that jumped across the bunker walls. Several men screamed. He waited for his body to respond. Adrenaline, panic, anything. Nothing happened. The question, a soldier beside him noticed. The man was young, barely old enough to shave properly. His face was wet with tears. He looked at him and shouted over the noise. "Aren't you scared?" The question felt strange. He thought about it carefully before answering. No. The word came out flat, accurate. The soldier stared at him, confused. Then he laughed nervously. "You will be," the man said. "Everyone is. Everyone except him." Time passed. Minutes. Hours. The shelling continued. Men broke down in waves. Some begged officers to let them out. Some screamed at invisible enemies. Some went silent in a way that looked dangerous. He remained unchanged, not calm, unmoved. Combat as procedure. When the shelling stopped, they were ordered out. He followed instructions perfectly. Advance. Cover. Fire. Reload. Every movement was precise, efficient. Officers noticed. They always notice soldiers who don't hesitate. The death beside him. Later that day, a man was hit near him. The soldier fell hard, clutching his stomach. Blood soaked through his fingers. He screamed once, then again. He reached out. Without emotion, he knelt beside him, applied pressure, checked breathing. The man's eyes searched his face, looking for reassurance. He gave none, not because he refused, because nothing inside him knew how. The screaming stopped. The body relaxed. The soldier stood up, returned to position. The real difference. That night, back in the trench, men whispered about what they had seen. Who died. How close it was. How afraid they had been. He listened. He understood the facts. But the emotions felt theoretical, like reading about a storm that happened somewhere else. The moment of awareness. Lying there in the dark, he realized something disturbing. He wasn't just numb to fear. He was numb to people. Their terror didn't infect him. Their pain didn't echo inside him. Morning arrived quietly. That alone felt wrong. After nights filled with explosions and screaming, silence felt unnatural, like a pause before something worse. He opened his eyes. The sky above the trench was gray, stretched thin like an old sheet. Birds circled somewhere far away. Life continued. The body check. He sat up slowly. No rush, no stiffness, no pain worth mentioning. He moved his fingers. They worked. He pressed a hand to his chest. Heartbeat present. Steady. Logical. He confirmed what he already knew. He was alive. The missing reaction. Around him, men woke in stages. Some groaned. Some cursed the cold. One man laughed softly, relieved to see daylight. Relief. That emotion registered in his mind, but not in his body. He tried to summon something. Gratitude, hope, even dread. Nothing answered. A strange thought. As he watched the others, a strange idea formed. If I were dead, would this feel any different? The question didn't frighten him. It felt reasonable. The mirror moment. Later, near a broken vehicle, he caught his reflection in a bent piece of metal. His face stared back, uninjured, young, human, but unfamiliar. The eyes were the problem. They didn't look tired. They looked empty, testing reality. He did something odd. He pressed his fingernail into his palm. Hard. Skin broke. Blood appeared. Pain registered. Sharp, clear. He nodded slightly. So the body worked. But pain was just information. The pain didn't bother him. It didn't linger. It didn't matter. It was data, like checking fuel in a machine. Orders without meaning. They were given new orders. Advance positions. Secure a ruined village. Men reacted immediately. Some sighed with dread. Others muttered about dying. He stood up automatically. Not brave. Not resigned. Just responsive. Walking through ruins. The village was half standing. Walls without roofs. Doors leading to nothing. Personal objects lay everywhere. A shoe. A child's toy. A photograph burned around the edges. The others slowed down. They looked uncomfortable. He looked carefully, understanding loss without feeling it. He understood what the objects meant. Families, lives, endings. But the meaning stayed intellectual. It didn't sink in. Like reading about grief in a textbook. The dead civilians. They found bodies. Civilians. Old. Young. A woman near a doorway, eyes open. One soldier turned away immediately. Another swore and kicked rubble in frustration. Someone whispered, "This isn't right." He crouched down, looked at the woman's face, studied the stillness, the thought that terrified others. He realized something that would have horrified the men around him. I could look at this all day, not because he enjoyed it, but because nothing inside him resisted. The soldier notices. An officer approached him. "You're always calm," the officer said, not accusing, almost admiring. "How do you do it?" He considered lying, but lying required intention. "I don't feel anything," he replied. The officer frowned. "That's good," he said after a pause. "It means you'll survive." The lie everyone believes. Survival. Everyone believed feeling less was strength. Efficiency. Control. No one questioned what happens when nothing reaches you anymore. Nightfall clarity. That night, he lay awake again. The stars looked sharp, cold, beautiful in a distant way. He thought about his life before the war. He could remember facts, names, places, but not emotions. The moment of recognition. And then it happened. A simple realization. Quiet but devastating. I'm not surviving this war. I'm just still breathing. The difference between living and existing. Living required attachment, fear of loss, desire, hope. He had none of those. What remained was motion, function, the truth. He finally admitted. For the first time, he admitted something fully. The war didn't break him. It hollowed him out. And hollow things don't heal. They echo. Silence used to mean safety. That was the rule everyone learned fast. If there were no explosions, no gunfire, no shouting, you survived another minute. But tonight, silence felt wrong, heavy, the quiet that pressed back. The village slept under a pale moon. No wind, no dogs, no distant artillery. The kind of quiet that doesn't relax you. It watches you. The others whispered. Boots moved carefully. Someone coughed and immediately apologized, as if sound itself was dangerous. He noticed none of this emotionally, but his mind recorded it. When the brain won't rest, they stopped for the night. No fires, no talking. He sat against a broken wall, rifle across his knees. Sleep should have come easily. It didn't. Not because of fear, because his thoughts had nowhere else to go. The noise inside. For the first time, he noticed something new. His mind was loud, not with memories, not with fear, but with absence. Thoughts echoed without resistance. No emotion softened them. No instinct pushed them away. An experiment. He closed his eyes, tried to imagine home. His mother's face appeared clearly, accurate, detailed, but flat. No warmth followed, no ache, just an image. He opened his eyes again. The first crack. A realization crept in. Emotions were gone, but memory remained, which meant he could remember what he used to feel, without feeling it. That was worse. A sound in the distance. Footsteps. Soft. Too soft. The squad tensed instantly. Hands tightened on rifles. Breathing slowed. He stood calmly. No adrenaline. No fear. Just awareness. Face to face with death. A figure emerged between two collapsed houses. A boy, maybe 14. Thin. Dirty. Terrified. He froze when he saw them. Hands shaking. No weapon. Just a sack over his shoulder. The moment everyone fears. Seconds stretched. The boy looked like he might run. Someone behind him whispered, "Don't move." Another soldier muttered, "If he runs." The sentence didn't finish. Everyone knew the rule. The soldier who felt nothing steps forward. He stepped ahead of the others. Slow, controlled. The boy's eyes locked onto his. Panic surged in the child's face. He raised his hands. The sack fell. Potatoes rolled onto the street. The decision point. The officer hesitated. The rules were unclear. Civilians weren't allowed out at night. But killing a child wasn't something anyone wanted to carry. Except the thought that shocked even him. As he watched the boy tremble, a thought passed through his mind. If I'm ordered to shoot him, I will. Not because he wanted to. Not because he hated him. Because nothing inside him would stop him. The order never comes. The officer waved the boy away. "Go," he hissed. The boy didn't wait. He ran, feet slapping against stone until he disappeared into darkness. Aftermath. The others exhaled. One soldier sat down, shaking. Another whispered, "Jesus Christ." Someone laughed nervously. Emotions flooded them all at once. Relief, horror, guilt. The absence becomes obvious. They looked at him, waiting for a reaction. Anything. He stood exactly as before, blank, unchanged. The question no one asked out loud. They didn't say it, but they felt it. What kind of man feels nothing after that? Alone with the silence. Later, he returned to his spot by the wall. The village was quiet again, but now the silence had weight. It pressed into his skull. He realized something terrifying. Silence no longer calmed him. It amplified the emptiness. The mind turns inward. Without fear, without emotion, his thoughts became sharp, cruel, analytical. He began questioning everything. Why avoid death? Why protect anyone? Why survive? The answer was logical and horrifying. Because survival was automatic. Because stopping required intention, and intention came from emotion, which he no longer had. The soldiers knew fear. For the first time since losing his feelings, something close to fear appeared. Not panic, not dread, a cold understanding. I am capable of anything now. The quiet victory of the war. The war didn't need to kill him. It had removed the part of him that said, don't, and that was more efficient. Morning arrived without color, not because of clouds, but because his eyes no longer searched for meaning. The fog lay low over the fields, thick and unmoving, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Bodies were scattered ahead, enemy uniforms, friendly uniforms, twisted together. No separation in death, a routine, not a tragedy. The squad moved forward cautiously, weapons ready, eyes alert. For them, the sight still caused reactions. One soldier looked away. Another swallowed hard. Someone whispered a prayer. He noticed all of it. He felt none of it. The checklist mind. His brain had changed how it worked. Instead of emotion, it ran on lists. Threat, distance, ammunition, cover. Bodies weren't people anymore. They were terrain. The test comes early. Movement. A shape shifted in the fog. Not a corpse. Alive. The squad froze instantly. Someone hissed, "Contact." Rifles rose. Breathing tightened. He moves first again. Without thinking, he stepped forward. No hesitation. No surge of courage. Just function. The fog thinned slightly. A wounded enemy soldier lay against a shattered fence, bleeding heavily. One leg bent wrong. Still alive. The old rules. Whisper. Weakly. Technically, wounded enemies could be taken prisoner. Technically. But prisoners slowed movement, used resources, created risk. He knew the regulations. He also knew how often they were ignored. The question appears and fails. Once, this moment would have triggered a storm inside him. Is it right? Is it necessary? Is he a human like me? Now, only one thought surfaced. Is he a threat? The answer was no. The next thought followed immediately. Does that matter? The squad waits. No one wanted to make the call. The wounded man groaned softly. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to remind them he was alive. A soldier muttered, "He's done for anyway." Another said, "We can't leave him like this." They looked at him. Again. The shift they didn't see. Inside his mind, something subtle happened. Not a snap, not a break, a disconnect. The concept of wrong stopped applying. Not rejected, just irrelevant. The act without emotion. He raised his rifle, not in anger, not in mercy, in precision. The wounded soldier saw the movement. Eyes widened, lips parted. A sound tried to come out. The shot. One round. Clean. Controlled. The body jerked once, then stilled. The fog swallowed the sound almost immediately. The silence after. No one spoke. A soldier stared at him. Another whispered, "Jesus." The officer didn't reprimand him, didn't praise him, just nodded once and said, "Move. Something is missing." As they walked on, he waited. For something. A reaction. A delayed feeling. Guilt. Relief. Anything. Nothing came. The realization hits late. Minutes later, a thought formed. Calm. Terrifying. I didn't decide to kill him. I simply executed a solution. Memory without weight. He remembered killing before. Those memories had edges, pain, fear, noise. This one felt like filing paperwork. Clean, emotionless, permanent. The others began to change around him. He noticed something else. The squad started following his lead, standing closer to him, letting him walk first, letting him act. It was easier when someone else carried the decisions. Authority without rank. He wasn't promoted. He wasn't praised. But he became something worse. Useful, reliable, unquestioning. Night reflection. Without reflection. That night he sat alone again. Not because he preferred solitude, but because no one knew how to talk to him anymore. Someone finally asked quietly, "How do you do it?" He looked up. Do what? Kill and not shake. He searched himself for an answer, found none, so he told the truth. I don't know. The lie hidden inside the truth. What he didn't say. I don't remember why shaking mattered. The war's most efficient weapon. Bullets run out. Bombs misfire. Orders get questioned. But a man who no longer asks why. That weapon doesn't fail. The point of no return. That night, lying awake, he understood something clearly. Even if the war ended tomorrow, even if he went home, the part of him that once stopped his hand was gone. Fear is loud. It breathes fast. It shakes hands. It makes men talk too much in the dark. He noticed this now because he no longer shared it. Calm that didn't belong. During bombardments, others ducked. He adjusted his helmet. When shells fell close, men cursed God. He checked his rifle. His calm wasn't bravery. It was absence. And absence unsettles people. The first look. A young soldier began watching him. Not openly. Side glances. Quick checks to see if he was reacting yet. He never was. That silence started to feel wrong. Fear needs company. In the trenches, fear spreads faster when shared. Men whisper to confirm they're still human, still afraid, still alive. He broke that pattern. His presence removed the mirror they needed. Are you even scared? One night, during a pause in the shelling, someone finally asked it. Not angry, not accusing, just confused. He thought carefully. Searched? Answered honestly. No. The word landed badly. The distance grows. After that, conversations shifted when he approached. Jokes stopped. Confessions ended mid-sentence. Men sat slightly farther away, not because they hated him, because they didn't understand him. Calm in the middle of chaos. During an ambush, panic exploded. Shots everywhere. Orders overlapping. Someone screamed for a medic. He moved straight through it. Direct. Precise. Unshaken. The look in their eyes. Later, after surviving, someone stared at him the way people stare at wreckage. Not relief. Not gratitude. Recognition. This isn't normal. Rumors start quietly. He heard fragments. He doesn't flinch. I think he likes it. Maybe he's already dead inside. None of them were true, but none were fully wrong either. Leadership notices. The officers started giving him tasks that required steadiness, scouting under fire, holding positions alone, walking into places others hesitated. Not because he was fearless, because fear had no place to live in him. The unspoken rule. Men didn't say it aloud, but they felt it. If he was calm, maybe things were under control. If he moved, they followed. If he stopped, they stopped. He became a signal, not a person. The moment it turned, a shell hit close, too close. A soldier froze, hands locked, eyes empty. Shock. Everyone shouted. No response. He knelt beside him, calmly, spoke evenly. Not comfort, not urgency, just instruction. Breathe. Stand. Move. The soldier obeyed. Later, the man whispered to someone else. He sounded like death telling me what to do. That night, no one sat next to him. Not out of anger, out of instinct. Men avoid things they can't categorize. Enemy, friend, human. He no longer fit cleanly into any. A dangerous thought appears. Lying awake, listening to breathing and distant guns, he realized something new. Their fear keeps them human. My calm is turning me into something else. But there was no alarm. That thought should have disturbed him. Once it would have. Now it simply existed, unchallenged. The war adapts. Wars don't punish numb men. The days had lost distinction. Night bled into day. Day bled into night. Bombs fell. Men screamed. Orders rang out. And he moved. The body went through the motions. It wasn't courage. It wasn't discipline. It was habit, automatic, function over feeling. His body had learned faster than his mind. Nothing matters. A village burned nearby. Civilians ran. Soldiers panicked. He walked through the streets slowly. Observation, not engagement. Nothing mattered. Not life. Not death. Not loss. Orders become optional. They shouted commands. He followed them, or didn't. The outcome was the same. Efficiency, not morality. The ghost of decision. Once stopping mattered. Thinking mattered. Now nothing did. He was no longer making choices. Choices moved through him. Observing chaos without reaction. Explosions cracked buildings. Rubble fell. People screamed. He didn't move faster. He didn't hesitate. He didn't flinch. They were all just motion, watching others struggle. A soldier froze next to him, hands shaking, eyes wide. He didn't notice the fear anymore. It was no longer contagious. He acted. Simple, methodical movements. The man beside him survived, because he did. Becoming a tool, officers began using him deliberately. Assignments no one else wanted. Reconnaissance. Risky scouting. Holding positions alone. Not because of skill, because he had no hesitation, no second thoughts, no internal voice to question him. Survival without thought. He realized something dark. Survival itself no longer required thought. Orders, rules, ethics, mercy, they were optional. Function mattered. Motion mattered. Everything else was noise. The moral weight dissolved. A man cried nearby over a friend who died. The sound should have been unbearable. It registered as fact, not grief, not sorrow, not guilt, just fact. Walking through ruins, rubble, broken homes, bodies, all became a landscape. Not tragedy, not history, just geometry, texture, and space. He passed through it like he would a street in his hometown. Only colder, only stiller, nightfall reflection. At night, lying among other soldiers, he noticed their glances. Curious, worried, afraid of him. They whispered, "He doesn't care. He can't care." They were correct. The final realization of the day. In the darkness, he admitted something quietly to himself. The war didn't break me. It didn't take me down. It only stripped the weight of survival. Breathing, moving, living, that was all that remained. And even that no longer felt meaningful. It started with the mirror. A cracked piece of glass hung inside a ruined building, barely attached to the wall. He passed it without slowing, then stopped. Not because he felt something, because his body did. The face that meant nothing. He looked at the reflection. A uniform, a helmet, mud on the cheeks, eyes staring back. It was correct, and completely unfamiliar. He studied the face carefully, the way one examines a stranger. Age, uncertain. Emotion, absent. Purpose, unclear. He knew this face followed orders. He knew it survived, but it did not feel like his. Memory without ownership. He tried to remember himself before the war. Not events. He remembered those clearly. But ownership. The boy who had opinions. The man who feared consequences. The person who felt shame, hope, anticipation. Those memories existed. They just didn't belong to him anymore. The name test. He whispered his own name. Nothing changed. No echo inside. No recognition. No reaction. It sounded like a label attached to an object, moving without identity. He continued his assignment, walking, observing, executing tasks with calm precision. At no point did he feel present. It was as if his body operated independently, and his awareness simply followed. Silent, detached, unnecessary. Others noticed the difference. A soldier spoke to him. He answered correctly. Another joked. He understood the humor. A third shouted in anger. He registered the volume. But none of it reached a center, because there was no center left. The body as equipment. He stopped thinking of himself as a man. He was equipment, useful, replaceable, maintained until damaged beyond function. This thought did not frighten him. Fear required a self to threaten, moments that should have worked. He tried small tests. A familiar song someone hummed. A letter read aloud from home. The smell of food cooking. Nothing activated. The emotional system simply did not respond anymore. Watching himself act. During combat, he noticed something new. He could observe himself from a distance, moving, firing, advancing, like watching someone else perform tasks efficiently. No pride, no disgust, no adrenaline, just observation, the quiet terror. The most disturbing part wasn't the numbness. It was the absence of concern about it. At some point, he should have panicked. But panic never arrived. Night without dreams. Sleep came easily. Dreams did not. His mind no longer rehearsed the past or imagined the future. It rested like an unused room. Final thought of the chapter. Staring at the ceiling that night, he reached a calm conclusion. I am no longer living this war. The war is simply happening, and I am inside it. The day began like every other day, except nothing felt like a beginning anymore. Sunlight filtered weakly through clouds. Shadows stretched across broken streets. The smell of smoke and decay filled the air. He noticed it. He registered it. He didn't care. Death as landscape. Bodies were everywhere. Some dressed in enemy uniforms. Some in his own. Some civilians. They weren't people. They were shapes, obstacles, statistics. Walking among them, he didn't flinch. He didn't breathe faster. He didn't even acknowledge the moral weight. Observation, not emotion. Soldiers nearby stumbled over corpses. Some screamed. Some cried. Some vomited. He watched. Not curiosity. Not amusement. Not fear. Observation only. The world unfolded in detail, like reading a map. Efficiency over humanity. Orders came. Secure the town. Clear the streets. Report positions. He executed them perfectly, not because he was brave, not because he cared, because he existed to act. The first moment of alienation. A wounded man called for help. Others hesitated. He moved. Placed the man behind cover. Checked pulse. Nothing. He stepped back. Nothing had changed. Words don't reach him. Nearby, a soldier shouted at him. Do you feel anything? Are you human? He answered without hesitation. I function. No explanation. No justification. Just a statement of fact. The body survives. The mind vacates. Hours passed. Shells fell. Men died. He continued moving with mechanical precision. His mind recorded everything. Emotion refused entry. It was as though the war happened around him, not to him. The dead become objects. Bodies no longer prompted grief. Fear had vanished long ago. Pain was irrelevant. Even soldiers in agony were just obstacles to navigate. He began cataloging silently. Uniforms, weapons, injuries, positions. No names, no faces, no stories. The moment of realization. He realized what made him dangerous now. He could witness death, anyone's death, and act without hesitation, without moral hesitation, without emotional delay. Others feared him, not for violence, but for absence. The final check. At night, the streets were quiet. He paused, looked at the empty shells of buildings, the bodies he had passed, the fires burning softly in distant windows, and understood. Everything that matters to others is irrelevant to me. The calm before nothing. He lay in a trench. Soldiers whispered about the town, the people, the war. He heard facts. He registered logic. He felt nothing, and the absence felt permanent. The war ended the way it always ended. Not with fanfare, not with relief, not with survivors celebrating. Silence stretched over the battlefield. Smoke hung low. Ash drifted in the wind. He walked through it. Still alive. He was alive. He noticed it. But it meant nothing. Other men cheered. Some cried. Some collapsed in exhaustion. He observed. He moved. He continued. No emotion touched him. The streets were empty. Rubble everywhere. Bodies left behind. Shattered buildings. Windows staring like empty eyes. He catalogued, checked positions, measured distance. Nothing more. Death, destruction, loss. All were just conditions of the environment. The others' reactions. Soldiers glanced at him. Did he even feel anything? They didn't ask the question aloud. The answer was obvious. Memory without weight. He remembered his life before the war. He remembered fear. He remembered hope. He remembered longing. But those memories belonged to someone else. Someone he could not find in himself anymore. Function over humanity. Orders came. Movement was required. Survival was assumed. He performed every task, not because he wanted to, not because he feared death, not because he cared, because function was automatic. Walking among the dead, bodies scattered, silent witnesses to what had happened. Civilians, soldiers, friends, enemies. He passed them all without reaction. Nothing touched him. Nothing moved him. The final realization. Lying alone in the ruins that night, he understood. The war hadn't broken him. It hadn't even changed him. It had removed him from the world. Life without feeling. He could eat. He could sleep. He could follow orders. He could survive. But life, as everyone else knew it, no longer existed for him. He was a shadow moving among men, a machine in human skin, the absence complete. For the first time, he felt something, but it was not human. It was recognition of absolute emptiness, a weightless nothing, perfectly silent, permanent, the last thought. If someone asked him if he regretted anything, he would have answered truthfully, "I feel nothing, nothing ever again," and that was all. The world went on. The war ended. Men returned to life. He continued, without feeling,